Beep.
Who's this?
Hey man, it's me.
Hey? Oh, hey, Kirk, how have you been?
You know, good and all that crap you.
Been doing better.
That's good to hear. Oh wait, shit, weren't you working on a video? What the fuck?
Hey, everybody, Real Like Biz here, and welcome back to Best and Worst Best Games I played in 2021. Why worst the best? Games I played in 2021. Well, sometimes I just don't play the new stuff. Once upon a time, FMV games were once heralded as the next big evolution in video games. I don't know why they thought that. I mean, there were so many technological limitations to it that made game development so much more difficult than it needed to be, you know? But hey, it's still around technically, in the niche little corner where it belongs. And you know what's even stranger is that fucking Sony, of all people, for reasons I can only speculate about, decided to publish one in 2019. It's pretty nuts. And you know what? It was fine. Nothing about it was terribly interesting, and at least managed to keep me into like one ending. But like, yeah, it's one of those you have to play more than once to get the whole picture kind of things. But like, man, it's one of those one and done kind of flicks. And you know what? I feel like if it explained too much of its crap, it probably would have made it a whole lot worse. Crazy! I've already had dropped stuff already. And it's mostly because I didn't really play a lot of mid or bad shit last year for reasons. I'm not in the mood to deal with this stupid chicken bitches shit. This stage is poorly designed. You know, there are a lot of reasons not to like Higurashi. You can, for one thing, you could really tell what era of anime this thing came from. There's a lot of gross elements about it that a lot of fans really don't talk about, or they throw to the side when it comes to the greater discussion. That takes away more than you think. But the fucked up part is that crap wasn't the reason why I dropped it. No, I grew up in that said era of anime, and that means I have a certain level of tolerance for it. Like, yeah, I was more annoyed by it than truly disgusted, because it's like, oh crap, here's this shit again. But what's more messed up than anything else is the reason why I dropped it was stuff that I liked. The reason why I kept coming back to it is the reason why I dropped it. I'm not going to elaborate on it in any fucking capacity, because that shit is extremely personal to me. And I think dumping in a random video will not help me. I've been doing better. Like, besides what that intro imply, I've actually been doing mentally better since I've dropped this. But yeah, I dropped Higurashi for my own mental health. Oh yeah, the series for this got axed it last year, huh? I guess that was pretty good enough of an incentive for me to finally boot it up, and you know what? It was neat. I guess it's one of those games that live or die on fan content, and as you know, with the fan content, it varies greatly from stage to stage. I mean, it's not a loss that this game got shut down because its sequel, which people say is a million times better, I don't know, is still around, so you know, isn't much of a loss. But who says fans will let that server be dead forever? I gotta be real with you, fam. Who thought this was a good opener for a horror anthology series? Like, it's not bad. It's just, you know, mid-season filler more than a fucking opening. I'm kind of shocked they actually managed to make all the games they promised for the series, especially with this as their first stuff. But hey, you can do a lot worse than a low 6 out of 10 horror movie, right? Next up on the docket, it's a Capcom beat 'em up, and there are like two noteworthy things about it. It's based on a manga. That's probably inspired by Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Haven't read it, so I have no idea what its quality is about. It has a weird localization, which I mean that's not uncommon for the time, so really not really that noteworthy. I mean it's not a bad beat 'em up, I'll give it that. But when you really get down to it, though, there's a good reason why when you talk about Capcom beat 'em ups, this one's often forgotten. Capcom's former Golden Boy had a pretty solid beat 'em up to his name, and while I wouldn't put it among my favorites in this genre, I will say that I'm willing to play it again. Though I will admit I will forget it at a given time. Now, hold on a minute! I am well aware of the ongoing controversy surrounding Activision Blizzard, but man, I literally finished a COD game the moment the news dropped, man. Like, how was I supposed to know that Power Cake was finally going to blow? And all I have to say about that is that I hope the workers there at least get better working conditions. So, anyway, Blops 2 is one of those mid-tier COD games, and it's not like a bad one per se, but like it's not close to like the good ones either. I mean, I'll give it credit for trying to do something more with COD's story, but man, you do not come to the series for the story. And I'm sorry to say this, but none of the cats are even close to a measure of a third of Captain Price's charm. But it did scratch my itch for a cinematic shooter, and I'll at least give it that. Is Toad the Scrunkly of Mario? And the answer is no. That belongs to Bowser Jr. But I brought him up because I played the captain's game, and you know what? It was neat. Captain Toad's maps at 3D World were the more interesting parts of the game, and I'm kind of glad they made a proper game out of it. While I wouldn't call this a very brain-busting puzzle platformer, it was interesting enough to keep me from being bored. However, I will note though that the DLC isn't all that great. It feels more like filler that retreads on the main game, a little too much. I mean, yeah, it's harder, but that's not enough. But hey, the DLC's priced well enough to match that, but whatever. It's fine, and this game is fine. I had fun. I'm probably the only one in all of existence to really talk about this little DSiWare game from ages ago, and while I am really honored to be the chosen one for this task, I'm gonna be real with y'all. You could toss a net into the endless sea of shmups out there, and you could pull out a dozen more interesting titles, even in the same style, in both graphics, gameplay, and especially music, which, by the way, tend to be a high point for these types of games. But, despite coming off as a generic store brand shmup, this bite-sized game was something that I always turned on every now and again to have some mindless fun, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Wait for it is that dev that you know has a good track record, but you've never played their games before. I feel that more times than not, there's no real discussion about their back catalog works other than, oh, that was good, that was neat, and that's kind of where it just ends a lot of the time. And after playing Mighty Switch Force, I'm starting to get why that happens. Now, don't get me wrong, their stuff isn't bad. It's just it tends to be rather unnoteworthy. Like, yeah, the art is always the main showcase, and getting Jake Kaufman to go off is on your soundtrack is always a bonus. But the problem is, at the end of the day, is that if you were to ask me about all the intricacies of what makes this game like fun, is just like it just kind of is. I guess if I had to describe this game in any capacity, is that it's competently and well made, and I have nothing more to say about it. In ye old England, King Arthur and the knights of his round raised their weapons to defeat the evil forces of whatever his name is from taking over England. Yes, I don't have a lot to say about this one because it's just another pretty unnoteworthy Capcom beat 'em up. It does everything it wants to do pretty well. It's just like, man, I don't think I'll remember this game giving time. I will probably continue to be among Pokemon's harshest critics until it's erased from human history, mostly because I feel this franchise could do a whole lot better, and once in a while it shows this glimpse of that said potential. And no, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon isn't that glimpse. That glimpse belongs to Sun and Moon, which is this game is basically a rehash of. And frankly, that's my biggest knock against this one. Really, is that it's just Sun and Moon again, but it adds a bunch of crap that really doesn't add a lot of noteworthy things that make it interesting or stand out from the other ones. So but I mean, whatever. It's Pokemon. It's still a 7 out of 10 for me, at least. Oops, I totally forgot I played this one last year, and that might be a bit telling of what I thought about it. But hey, now I did have fun with that, so so thanks to Kirbyuna for reminding me that I played this. An old favorite of mine from back in the day, God, I'm old, sucked an unholy amount of hours into Mercenaries mode, which even to this day is like crack to me. Oh, and by the way, Capcom, I will suck all of your dicks if you give me Ultimate Mercenaries mode, god damn it! Anyway, this dumb action movie of a co-op game is all you can ask for, which, by the way, hey Curb, as my co-op partner, what do you think?
Oh, now you'll talk to me, asshole.
And then say your opinion about Resident Evil 5 here.
Yeah. Resident Evil 5 was a good game, fun to play with my asshole of a friend. We had great time and definitely would recommend it for people who just want a good shooting game to play with someone who's just bored out of their minds.
That was a wonderful set of words that really blew everyone's expectations of you away.
No problem. We're still platinuming Resident Evil 5 later, right?
Yeah, but I need to keep talking about video games a bit more. While it's true there's no puzzle game Goliath bigger than Tetris, but Hawk, do you not hear whispers of the ancients? They speak of times where giants clashed for the throne which Tetris sits on now, and among them a mighty dinosaur blast his mighty bubbles to pop other bubbles and stuff. And I mean, I enjoyed it. It made me feel stupid. I felt like a dum dum as I tried my best to figure out how the bubbles would bounce. And like I got it right like half the time maybe, but whatever. But hey, there's pity lines, so I was able to figure out the puzzle things maybe most of the time. Haha. Man, this is really sticking to the point that I'm too stupid to really articulate what makes a good beat 'em up. Even though this game has a more generic fantasy aesthetic compared to Knights of the Round, why do I like this one better? Maybe it gives off the feeling of a short D&D campaign. Maybe its simple level up and equipment system gives a good placebo effect in terms of progress. Or maybe I just like the feel of this game a whole lot more. I mean, I did finish it twice, so this is something I must look at my orb and ponder at for a very long time. Dude, I am so garbage at fighting games. It's hilarious. And you know what's fucked up? That playing this convinced me to give the greater KOF series a shot. Now, I'm a clueless dum dum when it comes to this kind of game, so mechanically I can't explain why I had fun with this, but maybe it's because I think the KOF character design as a whole is just, it vibes with me super well. And, hopefully I can figure out how to play KOF 15, maybe. When it comes to discussion of video games as an art form, I side with yes it is. Yes, it is an art form. And while many make ridiculous claims against it, may I remind you, every art form has a commercial side to it. I mean, an artist needs to eat, they need a place to sleep, and sometimes, man, they need a nice place to shit too. And why I'm bringing this up is because Sayonara Wild Hearts is an attempt at merging the more artistic side of video games with the more commercial side with it. This has a very clear artistic vision to it, and get its gameplay is simple enough to, easily enjoy. I'd say the team behind this did a pretty decent job. I think my only real complaint towards it is that the music all sounds a bit the same. Like it's all like this is all one continuous song, which that might be the intent, but hey, I managed to find one track I liked even then, so not that much of a knock. But however, I will say this now: unless you really vibe with it, I wouldn't say it's really worth hunting down a physical copy. But its current asking price for digital storefronts is more than reasonable if you want to give it a try. Side note: it was a nice surprise to hear Queen Latifah in this little game. Despite Nintendo being one of the few that actually got the license to make Tetris games, they still tried their own hand at making one. Or should I say Intelligent Systems had their hand in making their own puzzle game. Well, whatever. This is actually my first time trying out the series. And you know what? It is a damn shame the Big N doesn't do more with this. Like, Puzzle League 99 would just become crack cocaine to me. Hey, I have a question for you. Do you dig giant robots? Because I dig giant robots. Yeah, I rank this one pretty high mostly because it's a good feeling beat 'em up starring giant robots, and I am a simple guy sometimes. Do a number of things I like well, and I'll rank you high. And now all I really have to say when it comes down to it is that it's a damn shame that Capcom doesn't do more with these sick mech designs. And you know what? I'll even take them being in Super Robot Wars, and yes, that's a dig at that series. Well, my poo-poo brain is starting to run out of steam with how I like these Capcom beat 'em ups. I gotta keep trying. Battle Circuit has that very distinctive cartoony Capcom art style that instead of superheroes or what goes bump in the night, it's a wacky sci-fi Saturday morning cartoon about bounty hunters. And also, I'm willing to say this, but this is the best feeling one out of the entire lineup out of the Capcom beat 'em up collection. With it, embracing more of its pseudo fighting game elements. I was having a whole lot of fun trying to pull off these combos, more than just simply mashing the same button over and over again. And I will also admit that I wasn't. Also, I will admit this now and here. It wasn't until I played it a second time where I managed to finally get that good feeling to it. As I played it mindless the first time. But hey, I recommend learning the combos to make the most out of it. Grouping these two together mostly because what I have to say about them overlap a lot. But yeah, Metal Slug is one of those arcade games that falls under the I hear a lot about every now and again, but I've never touched category. But yeah, I finally touched not one, but two of them, and I had a grand old time. It's hard as nails because arcade games are credit vampires, and you know what? It's sprite work and music. It's sprite work, excellent, and its music it's kind of forgettable, but hey, it kind of serves its purpose well. Also, hot take: Theo is overrated, and Eri is in fact best Metal Slugger, and I will defend that truth until my last breath. God damn, this feels like a year has barely passed since the original Psychonaut release, and not 20. For better or for worse, the OG Psychonauts had its fair share of issues. However, it came together well enough to be an overall enjoyable experience, and that feel transfers over to Psychonauts too, because this was really a case of what wasn't broken in the first one, don't fix it. And while I'm all for a sequel focusing on what made the first work well, but I feel a high level of complacency here, willing to go wild with and them not going willing to go wild with ideas to really expand on the world here. However, that complaint falls a bit more on the minor side at the end of the day. I got exactly what I wanted in a Psychonauts sequel, and before I move on to the next game, I would. Before I move on to the next game, however, I would like to thank the bottomless wallet of Xbox for allowing this game to happen because goddamn man, that was not going to happen otherwise. Now, here's the COD game I finished with Newsbreak. Fucking hell, I hope Body Kodak gets beaten to death instead of enjoying his mountain of money. Parody, satire in Roblox, in Minecraft, in Among Us, Friday Night Funking Edition. Anyway, this shit's a classic that I played a shit ton back in the day. And while I barely touched the multiplayer back in the day, I played the campaign more times than I could count, really. And even years later, it's still pretty fun. And you know what? All this does is make me sad that how much Modern Warfare 3 fucking sucked. Beatrice, you horrible woman. What you've done was truly unforgivable. How could you? How dare you steal my heart? Unforgivable. Unforgivable. Oh, how long has it been since a day has passed without thinking of your tale? 3 years. 3 whole years. Thinking about every little detail, trying to make sense of every little thing. I loved every minute of it. Some might call it obsession, and I will not deny that fact. After all, love can drive anyone into the pits of insanity. I call it love, yet I claw and tear away at your heart. I say I love you, but I deny your very existence stronger than anyone. Beatrice, I do not deserve your forgiveness. Hate me, despise me, cast me to the lowest circles of hell. For daring to trample over your beloved veil, my Beatrice.
Just as you said. A kaiju attacked, like in that movie. So we'll do what we have to do. Get in the robots and fight. Our fate was sealed a long time ago.
I repeat, we interrupt this program to bring you an important emergency broadcast. A large, unidentified object has crash-landed in the city. It is headed north toward Kasumicho, destroying everything in its path. A state of emergency has been declared in Ashitaba City. The neighboring 3 wards are advised to evacuate immediately. Please defer to the police for further instructions. Be advised that the express lanes are currently out of service. Roads are expected to face heavy congestion. Proceed with caution.
Once upon a time, if my idiot brain is remembering right, this game was often placed alongside many of the, yeah, this is never coming out club, which is nothing more than the fault of Atlas, always announcing their shit way too early. Ain't that right, Project Refantasy? Anyway, I have a question for you. Usually what happens when you try to mesh together every type of story a genre is known for? It tends to be a giant fucking mess, right? But you may have noticed with how high I'm placing this, you can probably guess that 13 Sentinels actually managed to do it. And man, oh man, did it fucking come out great. It's stellar artwork, it's fantastic music. It just, and of course it's still erotic. It all just comes together to be a fucking great time. I think my only real complaint I can put towards this only really comes from from a snobbier side of me. Like, you know, the snob in me says like, oh, the destruction section of this game has a lot to be desired, but you know what? That's just really nitpicking. For the longest time, Alan Wake was one of my top favorite games I've ever rented and never owned. And I am so happy the remaster did this old game justice. Not one bit of what made the original great is gone. The haunting atmosphere is still there. The strange otherworldly story about the unknown powers still bring me joy. And man, even years later, this game still feels good to play on top of it. I think my only real issue is that the ending really reminds me what era of video games this came out with. Thank fucking God, DLC endings fucking stopped. And I'm happy that Alan Wake 1 is now a whole package now. And boy oh boy, I am hyped for the sequel. Damn, 20 years is a long ass time between entries for a series. I became a whole ass person during that time. I've always had passing interest in the Metroid series. I've collected a few of the games over the years, but I've really touched them. When the word of this one being well worth the wait made me curious, so instead of rotting away in my backlog like many other games, I booted up and holy shit, this game felt good. The movement, the progression, and the fact that this game has one of the best final bosses I've ever played in a very long time. God, this game is so cool on top of it. God. Boy. Well, I'm a little late to the party, but hey, that's no one's fault but my own. I could have banged this out in a month or two, but I was a lazy shit. But hey, it's here now for you to watch and enjoy. And thank you for watching the final installment of Worst to Best games I played X whatever year thing. Hopefully, I get to see you guys next